So our goal now is to make a custom brush that kind of replicates these spiky hair pieces that are kind of at random directions. So the first thing we're going to do is make a new layer, and we're going to call it Hair Test. And we are going to fill this with white. So I'm going to go back to my colors over here, foreground and background. Background is white. I'm going to fill this with white. So Command Delete or Control Delete. So that put a white layer, covers everything. For now, that's fine. Don't worry. All right, we are going to switch to our brush, and we're going to come up here and we're going to do a 10 pixel wide hard brush, 100% hardness. And we're going to paint with black, and we're going to make basically a line about 1/4 of an inch long. So if you need, why doesn't that keep, drives me nuts when it does that. All right, my rulers are showing here. I'm just going to drag over. So here is, we are really zoomed in. I'm going to zoom out a smidge. There's the 0 point. We need to make a straight line about 1/4 of an inch long. So I'm just going to hold shift as I draw with black, and I'll start at the 1/2 inch point. And all we need to do is 1/4 of an inch long. So there we go. That's all we need this whole giant space for. Let's zoom in and look at this line that we just drew. And then the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to switch to white as our color. And with that same brush, we're going to kind of paint over the top here to give it a little bit more of a spiky look. So there we go, kind of making it look like a bear hair. I'm painting with white, and there we have it. I'm happy with that. Now we need to make a custom brush. So remember from chapter 6 when we made custom brushes, as long as it's black on a white background, we can use it as a custom brush. So we're going to use our rectangular marquee and select it. And then from here, we're going to do an edit and then define brush. The name of it is going to be bear hair. And we're going to say, okay. Now notice my cursor is loaded. I'm in the brushes, but the specific brush that it loaded with is the bear hair. And of course, this view just shows us if we drag to the right, and that's not entirely what we're going to do. So I'm going to change this to show the brush tip also. So there you can see what the bear hair looks like as a single thing. Plus we see the preview over here. All right. We are going to click on the brush options folder up here in the option bar to get this window to show up for our brush settings. So we're working with the bear hair right now. And what we want to do is first increase the spacing. Right now it's at a small amount, and notice as we make it a larger and larger amount, we're seeing our hairbrush or bear hair with some space in between it. So we're going to space it to 170%. Then we're going to come in here and we're going to reduce the size of it. Right now I'm at 88 pixels. We're going to bring it down much smaller to about 26 pixels. And then the Shape Dynamics checkbox. So this one right here, Shape Dynamics, we're going to turn it on with the checkbox and then highlight it so that we see all these additional choices. Make this window a little bit bigger if I can. All right. The scattering checkbox. So let's just see what these do first. Here's jitter. That's pretty good. Angle jitter, not so much. The hair has to all grow out of the same skin. And the roundness of the jitter. So what we want to do in this option is click on the scattering checkbox to scatter the hair about. All right. This one right here, scattering. We are going to change it a little bit, but if you don't want to, We want to keep it growing out of the same hairline. We can't change that too much. Both axes would not work. We don't want it growing up and down, but we have shape dynamics turned on and scattering turned on. If you want to play with this jitter a little bit also to get a little bit more difference, you can do that as well. So when we're happy with this, we are going to practice painting with it over here. So I'm going to close this. Oh, I'm painting with white. That's the problem. Let's switch to black and paint around with our hairbrush. So you can see that as long as I'm going left to right, it is painting the hairbrush straight up and down. But some issues that we have are when we need to go around the bear's face and have it going the other direction. So we're going to have to work on that as well. All right. Oh, the brush panel flyout. I need to get back to this. When we're happy with what we just created here, we need to go up to this flyout panel up at the top and say new brush preset. And we're going to call this Hair Bear Scatter. So the regular bear hair behaves one way, and this one is going to follow the scattering and jittering that we've applied to it in this extra brush settings window. All right, so here's that brush, just so we know how it behaves. All right, we can deactivate or delete this entire layer. We're done with it. I'm just going to drag it down to the garbage. We've made a custom brush out of it, and that's all we were really trying to do. I'm going to come back to our full-size document here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add this bear hair to the mask. We're going to activate our mask thumbnail, make sure that it's active and that the white outline is around the mask itself. And we're going to choose white as our foreground color. And we're going to adjust this angle of the brush as we need to paint around here. So what we're going to be doing is adding the hair spikes around the edge of the mask. Okay, before we paint with this brush, I'm going to do two things to hopefully make this a little bit more obvious. I'm going to activate my mask so that you can see it. I'm painting with white and I have the hairbrush, and then we're going to open the brush settings window again. So up in the option bar, you click on the folder and you get this document. So right now my angle is this way. I'll show you in just a second, but notice that my brush is going straight up and down. So right now I can certainly do this along the top of the bear because that makes sense. However, now that I'm starting to turn a corner, I might want to angle this a little. So watch as I'm turning this. Do you see the preview changing? So when I'm ready to paint along this edge, I now have it turned. Oops, I got to get back inside here a little bit. Oops. Well, you know, I'm doing the best I can, as are you. So I'm just drawing this mask along, and as long as I'm going that direction up here, I need to twist it back a little bit, maybe like that. Okay, that's good. Now I can paint along this edge. Over here, I need to turn it this way. That's too spiky. I got way too far out, but you get the idea. So you can go around the entirety of the bear and add a little bit. I think if you keep half of the bear brush inside the white, it's probably going to look a little bit more accurate. Something like this. Doing everything that's going the same direction right now while I'm here. All right, so keep doing this. Get your bear hair going. Actually, I don't think he has spikes on his nose, but whatever. All right, now when we go back and we look at our whole entire thing, much better, but not perfect, right? We can see some green because there was just grass behind here. I can see that the actual hair spikes were going a little bit more downward and I have them going straight out. So it's not perfect, but it sure did a lot better. All right. All right, so the bear does look better, but these spikes are really pretty in focus and everything, right? So with this layer mask itself still selected, we're going to just kind of soften it. So we're going to go up to filter and then blur, and we're going to choose Gaussian blur. And from here, we're just going to see a preview, and we're not going to be able to see much, but when we apply it to the mask, notice how my preview here, it's really blurry, whereas with 0, it's very spiky. So somewhere in there, just soften that up a little bit. I think you can tell that when I use shorter hairs, it looks a little bit better than when I use these crazy long ones over here. So we're going to blur the fringes just a little bit. And then we probably all have the same problem of the green fringe color cast from the pine needles and the grass behind it. This is really common where you get these color casts of either a green screen if you're doing a knockout that way, or if the person is on a pink background, maybe it kind of has a pink color cast to it from the light. Since these fringe pixels are almost impossible to eliminate, the easiest solution is to just convert them to the appropriate foreground color. So instead of being green, we want to make these be this bare brown or bare red color. And to do that, we're going to add a new layer. So we're just going to click on a new layer above this, and we're going to name it Fringe Pixels. And then on this, we're going to change the blend mode to be color. So we're going to switch it to color. And then we're going to option click right in between these two to select them, or I'm sorry, to clip them together. So this fringe pixel color blending mode is now attached to the mask below it. We're going to take our brush tool. We're going to hold down option, which is going to change it into the eyedropper. So we're just going to sample a color. So sample something that you consider to be bare brown, not this super red or super black, just maybe something in the middle. Notice that my foreground color has changed to that. And then we're just going to simply paint over these green pixel areas. And we actually, because we've clipped this to the mask below, we can use any brush to do this. It doesn't have to be the bare brush. We're just going to paint. So I'm using just a soft brush, as you can see here, a round one, but I'm painting this color overlay of bare brown everywhere that I need to, specifically where we have green showing. So like right in here, anywhere that there's that green color cast, I'm painting over it using, there we go, using the color overlay. So that's a super easy way. Color mode, the one that we're in right now, the blend mode of color mode, converts a pixel's hue and saturation to match the foreground color, which is this brown that we selected. It doesn't alter the pixel's luminosity, so we can see the detail, but it turned it brown. All right, the last thing that we would want to do to make this look as realistic as possible is to add a little bit of a drop shadow under the bear so he's not literally just floating over water. We're going to add a new layer below the bear. So I'm just going to go to the background layer and add a new layer. That will put one underneath our bear. Wherever you make it, as long as you drag it into this position, that's perfectly fine. We're going to name this shadow. There we go. And we're going to put this in multiply blend mode. And we're going to paint with a large fuzzy black brush. So something fuzzy and big. Oh boy. Pixels. All right. Whoops, didn't mean to do it there, obviously. I'm going to make my brush bigger. And we're going to just paint down here in this multiply mode, which is pretty dramatic right now, no doubt. But we can always change the opacity. So notice how I'm pulling the opacity down over here of just this layer. Now it at least gives it a little bit of a shadow that makes sense. The bear would cast some sort of a shadow. Looks a little bit more natural, I would have to say. So there we go. We've taken this bear we've masked, we've made spiky custom brush, and now it does, especially from this view, look like he has spiky wet hair. It looks very natural, and we took away that color cast and painted inside the mask in that overlay mode, or color mode, I'm sorry, to turn those greenish pixels brown. So that is the manual way of doing spiky hair.